Hi, I'm Jim.
And I'm Jeff.
Thanks for listening to the Stanching Tyranny Hour. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and pull up a chair while we start the march toward liberty.
That doesn't make sense. How does one march while in a chair?
Good question. You can figure it out. You're the engineer.
Well, stay tuned and we'll let you know on 1450 AM WPG.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
We made it.
Yeah, it's not bad out there. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so here we are. A slushy Saturday morning. We're glad you could make it and join us. Be sure to join us on Facebook, by the way. The Stanching Tyranny. Just search that in the search bar thing, whatever it is, and like our page. We put videos there, and we put recordings of our show.
And snarky comments.
And snarky comments, of course. In case you miss it, you can get it on YouTube. So isn't that great? Or you can listen to it over and over and over again. It never gets old, does it?
That's what I always do.
Yeah, of course. So we're glad you can make it. And the ride in here today was uneventful.
It was just wet.
So what's in the news?
Salty.
What's in the news? The snowstorm, of course.
Right.
And all that
Sounds
good
like
stuff.
It got pretty bad up there in Boston area.
Yeah, and then you got that crazy guy with the shooting the police officers out there in California.
Right. That.
All that. But
yeah.
that's, of course...
And then there's fighter jets for... What, selling or giving? I'm not
it depends on who you listen to.
Yeah,
I'm sure Lockheed Martin or whoever it is that makes these things
they're getting paid.
Yeah, you know that's happening.
Yeah, but they're going to, Egypt, I think?
Yeah.
So that's been all over the news.
But of course, that's not why you listen to Stanching Tyranny, is it?
We pick at the real news that they're not telling us.
Right. And there's much of it.
Oh, a lot of activity this week. You know, we got John Kerry being... confirmed to be the Secretary of State, CFR member John Kerry, I should say.
Right, yeah.
Hillary, I don't know what she's going to do.
Yeah, CFR member Hillary.
You can bet she's still there.
Oh, yeah. She's a proud member.
Right.
She's got her card and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Tim Geithner.
Right.
I mean, we got just all kinds of...
Did you hear Tim Geithner
CFR,
got a new job?
He got
Did you hear
a new
that?
gig, yeah. He's a distinguished fellow.
Yeah, well,
at the CFR.
Yeah, so he's been a member of the CFR, the Council of Foreign Relations.
Oh yeah, he's a member of everything. The Center for Global Development, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Economic Club of New York, the Bank for International Settlements, and here's a good one. The Bilderberg Group.
Oh, what do you know about that?
Yeah, quite a history on Tim Geithner.
Yeah, but he actually got a paying gig at the CFR, from what I understand.
Wow, how did he do that?
I don't know.
Huh.
But apparently he's just such a lofty thinker that they figured they would put him on the payroll.
To quote what they said, let's see, the Council of Foreign Relations has graciously brought this quote-unquote tireless and creative thinker on board as a distinguished fellow.
Wow.
His role is to strengthen their capacity to produce thoughtful analysis of issues at the intersection of economic, political, and strategic development.
Yes, we are all just so smart and lofty in our thinking. Yes.
And Richard N. Haas, he tweeted, his adoration, his tweet was...
He had his people tweet?
Right. The former Secretary of Treasury Tim Geithner joining CFR as Distinguished Fellows. Thrilled to have this leading practitioner and thinker in our midst.
Yippee!
Oh, we're so honored to have
it a shame that we won't have him as our Treasury Secretary.
Well, not really.
No.
Well, he's still running things.
Honestly, I think he's getting out in the nick of time.
Oh, yeah.
There's currency wars, and we're in the midst of them.
He knows it, yeah.
He knows it, yeah.
So, he spoke about currency back in, I think, 2009, right after the collapse. You want to hit that, Scott? Hit play.
I haven't read the governor's proposal. He's a very thoughtful, very careful, distinguished central banker. Generally find him sensible on every issue. But as I understand his proposal, it's a proposal designed to increase the use of the IMF's special drawing rights. And we're actually quite open to that suggestion.
Sure. Great.
But
So pause it there, Scott. Yeah. So he's talking about the Federal Bank of China, the chairman of China's Federal Bank, and saying what a great guy he is.
Yeah.
And apparently that guy, the chairman of the Chinese Central Bank, says, you know, that dollar thing,
that's
all old. You know, we need something new. And
something new.
You know, how about this? How about we have a new currency? And yeah, we can base it on the IMF special drawing rights, whatever the heck that is.
Yeah, that special drawing rights, from what I understand, is like a basket of currencies and commodities that they use to set prices.
Yeah, and Tim Geithner thinks that's a great idea.
Yeah, isn't that great?
So
he's looking out for the U.S.
Right, he's doing the people's work, right?
Right,
sure.
Yeah, nothing like getting in bed with a communist country. Didn't we fight the communists?
Apparently we lost that.
Well, we must have lost that
because we have one in the White House
every year.
And we have this guy here in the cabinet. And so we must have lost that one.
Yeah. So now we have him over there in China, or not now. This
was in 2009. Yeah, after.
But you know, he's all for it.
Well, obviously, that comes under. Wait a minute, I have it right here. Leading practitioner and thinker.
Oh, he's a leading thinker. Yeah. We like to call that pointy-headism.
Right. Yeah, he goes on to say on this clip that. You know, don't think of it as replacing the dollar.
No.
Think of it as an evolution of the currency.
Yeah, an evolution of the currency. What a great way.
Everybody knows evolution. That's worked out just great.
Yeah, well, you know if you think about it, what better way to pull one over on the unsuspecting American populace through the use of incrementalism by calling it evolution because of the fact in the last 40, 50 years we've had evolution drilled down our throats to believe it as fact, right? So that when the politicians tell us, this is just an evolution,
perfectly natural.
Everybody just goes, eat their Doritos watching the Super Bowl.
How about that Super Bowl?
Yeah.
What's that?
I missed it.
Yeah, me too.
All right, but anyway, so Tim Geithner has got his job there at the CFR, and I'm sure, you know, he's doing the people's business. He's looking out for you. He's looking out for me. He's looking out for you guys, dear listeners out there, as all our politicians are wont to do. They care so much. They're public servants.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure this is just a stepping stone to, you know, it's a career move for old Tim. You know, I mean, he's only been the head of the Fed of New York. And he's actually worked at the IMF, interestingly enough. Yeah. You know, he worked there for some time before he became Treasury Secretary. Right. And, you know, I mentioned his memberships and his family.
He's got family relations.
He's got family relations.
Yeah,
it's really nice. It's like a family
It's like a family business.
Here.
It's like, you know, running plumbing, heating, cooling, electric. You know, you got the brothers working
only
there.
a little bigger.
A little bigger.
A little more tyrannical.
Yeah.
So he worked for Kissinger Associates. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows who he is, right?
Yeah,
you know.
Him. Yeah, I worked for him, and you know, his dad was Peter Franz Geithner. He was director of the Asia program at the Ford Foundation.
Oh,
Tim grew up in Indonesia.
Yeah,
who else do we know grew up in Indonesia? Hold on,
let's divide by 2, carry the 9,
and that's
over.
Is it what?
Barack Obama. That's right.
Yeah, and from what I've learned is their parents were quite friendly.
No.
Yeah.
It's not true.
It is true. So it's the family business, just like you were saying.
Yeah. Well, isn't that what they call the CIA? Either the family or the corporation, one or the other?
I think the corporation.
Yeah,
but
Barack Obama's mom, you know, she worked for the old CIA, too.
Right. Yeah. No, and Ford Foundation.
That's CIA. I come on, people.
Yeah.
That's CIA. All right. We know, you know, that's CIA.
Yeah, we have a phone call. Let's see what Andrea has to say. Good morning, Andrea.
Good morning, Jeff and Jim, and like the evolution. Wasn't that kind of like when they threw out that big word, like coercion, the monetization of the roads?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that monetization. There's more monetization coming, don't you worry.
Don't you worry.
No, but I'll tip, now we have what? We have the new Plato, I think, therefore I am, or was it Plato who said that? Or,
yeah, it was either him or the Moody Blues.
I spend, therefore I'm not going to pay my taxes. You can pay them for me, Tim Geithner.
Right.
A couple funny things. Actually, it's not funny. I can be very satirical. The USS aircraft carrier Truman will not be able to deploy to its next mission. We don't have enough money.
Good.
Yeah, we can't put gasoline in the thing, right?
Send it the heck home.
We can, except if Michelle Hussein Obama can not go for another bag of pork rinds to enable her to, lessen her huge donkey.
I like pork rinds.
Andrea, pork rinds are really good.
Have you ever had them?
No.
They're really good. Well, you get the...
We won't even go there, but I think she's going to, pull us all down. We're not allowed to have them, right?
Yeah. But you got to have a permit.
She is.
You got to have a permit.
Michelle Marie Antoinette. I mean, even at the Bastille, all right, you can eat cake. She doesn't even want us to eat cake.
Well, she'll say, let them eat pork rinds.
Well, actually, if she says, let me eat pork cracklings, I'll line up for whatever the heck they give me. They dole out. Give me my free pork cracklings.
Yeah.
They're good.
All right, now, this trivia. Okay, here's some... Did you know that Leon Panetta was a tower captain on an aircraft carrier?
No.
All right, did you know he graduated from Annapolis?
No.
Because he didn't do either one.
Oh. All right. Here, I thought we were on the
All right, but listen, I really enjoyed the hearing with Leon Panetta on the response time. That never happened. Quote, I love these real big words like, Leon Panetta and those guys. So that you can't be willy-nilly with an F-16, end quote.
Yeah. Well, my favorite thing of Leon Panetta was his rather famous quote for when he said that basically it really don't much matter what we here in America say. He takes his orders from the UN.
Yeah. That's a classic.
That's a classic Leon Panetta.
Mm-hmm.
And,
that's some really wasted real estate. But now there's certain people out there that have graduated from Annapolis and have served as captains and admirals out there. But here's my analogy. You know what happened in that hearing? Do you guys watch hockey?
No.
Yeah, we really don't watch much anything, to be honest, Andrea.
All right. Well, neither does Hillary and the president.
All right.
Okay, in real time. But what they pulled on us, these jackasses, I think, if you're watching hockey or something, right, they pulled a Zamboni on us, all right? They really blew all the time. And but it's just interesting to know that we do not have enough money for the USS Harry Truman to go out. But when was the last time you saw a starving person on food stamps? Somebody call in, let me know.
Yeah,
all right, guys.
All right,
thanks,
Andrew.
All right, Andrea. Yeah,
so
we're flat broke. I mean,
so park the Truman.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, bring all the stuff home and leave it here.
Right, and defend our borders.
Take those drones and put them through the paper shredder or the log chipper.
If somebody's crazy enough to come over here and try to pull anything, we're ready for them.
Right.
I think that was the original intent of the Constitution.
Yeah, and the right to bear arms and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that the United States is flat busted, and we're in the middle of a currency war, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah.
There's some big players in it. Japan, Europe is going to be coming online.
Oh yeah, Europe
is getting ready.
Watch I think it's in April, the German elections.
Yeah, we got to keep an eye on that.
That is going to be huge for the world economy.
Here, just last night in Venezuela, they devalued their currency by over 40%.
Wow.
Now listen.
So in other words, everything overnight got 40% more expensive.
Exactly. And listeners, it's not hard to do. Governments can do it. The U.S. government could do it. We could wake up on Monday morning and they say, yeah, those dollars you have, yeah, bring them into the bank because they're no good. We're issuing a new currency.
Right.
And then the new currency, what do you know, doesn't buy as much as the old currency.
Yeah, and
right? And there's precedent for that.
Exactly. And, we're in a position right now, we're the world's reserve currency, right? So as far as we're concerned, the dollar still has value. In other words, we have, in most Americans' minds, the value of the dollar hasn't changed because we're told that inflation is good and you need inflation to drive the economy, whatever the heck that means.
Which is all baloney.
The fact is we have been devaluing our dollar. We've been doing it ever since it was created.
Well, and there is a need for inflation by the government. See, the government, understand people, the government is who wants inflation.
Not you and
me.
They
tell you that it's good so that you will accept it.
Right.
But the fact is the government wants inflation. Why? Because that's how they drive their revenue.
Right.
Because if you're making $25,000 today and 4 years from now you're making $50,000 only because of inflation, what are you paying more of, people? Taxes, right?
Right.
So there is a benefit to inflation. When you're a money-grubbing, power-hungry scumbag politician, there most certainly is.
That's why they like to put firm numbers in the tax code as far as income.
Yeah.
Why do they use a number of $250,000?
Right.
Well, it's because they can set that now. It sounds like a lot of money. But in a few years, it won't be all that much money.
Right.
And a lot more people will be making that much money.
That's right.
So that means everybody's taxes are
going
up.
So some headlines you're not hearing are the Venezuela devaluing their bolivar, right? In relation to the U.S. dollar. Things just got more expensive.
Right.
We have Jim Rogers. He's a famous investor. He started the Quantum Fund years ago with George Soros.
Right.
He says, quote, get out of government bonds now.
Right.
U.S. government bonds.
Yeah.
All right. This is Jim Rogers saying this. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's talking about.
The last few shows, I think we've been telling people, watch that Treasury.
Yeah. Well, people, do you know how the Quantum Fund, how George Soros got his name? You do know that, right? It was by cornering currency markets and taking advantage of crashing currency values and economies.
Right.
And making money on the other side.
He's betting against currency.
Right.
Well, why couldn't that be being done now?
Why couldn't it be? Why couldn't it be? Right? And other headlines, let's see. Mark Carney, he's a Canadian fella. He's going to become the new Bank of England head. And he...
Interesting. If I could just interject regarding Canada.
Yeah.
They're removing the
penny.
The penny, which is it the loonie?
I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah, they have the loonie and then they have that toonie, which is 2 pennies, which didn't really work out.
Yeah.
But so the new base, lowest currency is going to be basically a nickel.
Yeah. The transactions are getting rounded and all that.
Now, let's understand again what that is. What is that?
That's inflation.
That's inflation, right. Everything's going to be rounded to the nearest nickel, right?
Yeah.
But really, if you think about it, it's because the value of the penny is so decimated and it costs so much more than a penny to make a stinking penny that they had to remove it. So what's that tell you about the rest of the currency?
Now the talk will be that that's just progress.
Oh, sure.
Who needs the penny?
That's evolution.
Oh, that's the penny. Oh, it's the penny.
Nobody likes pennies.
Nobody likes pennies. They just clog up your pockets and your change drawer, and you probably have too many of them anyway. Let's just get rid of them.
Right.
People, don't listen to these knuckleheads that tell you stuff like that, okay? Because it's all lies. It's all lies.
Well, you can tell when a politician is lying.
How's that?
As if his mouth is moving.
Ah, right. Yeah. Gotcha. So Mark Carney, right, he's going to be the new Bank of England head. Now,
that's good news.
Yeah, just so people know, the Bank of England is run much like our own Federal Reserve.
Yeah, they're not part of the Euro or any of that. They're their own, sovereign...
Their own game,
their own game.
And they have, just like the Federal Reserve has an inflation target, they have an inflation target.
Sure.
It also happens to be the same as the United States inflation target,
what a coincidence.
which is 2%.
And what is Japan's inflation target?
They just doubled theirs.
Yeah, to 2%. Yeah, isn't that interesting?
So, anyway, that whole inflation thing, they did an interview with Mr. Carney. That whole inflation peg, that just ain't working out.
No.
That just ain't working out. So he's deciding that they might just go ahead and put a GDP target on there.
On a percentage of GDP growth target?
GDP growth
great.
target. And so somebody asked them, what about inflation? We're willing to take a little short-term
GDP growth
to
is
get
what's
the
important.
GDP growth.
Right. Now GDP is gross domestic product, and basically it's a useless number, really.
It is.
I mean,
useless.
if I have a house next to Jim's, which of course I would, because if I didn't live with them, it'd have to be right next door. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
All right. Here's what we'll do.
Right.
You give me $5.
Okay.
I'll cut your grass.
That's a deal, because I hate cutting the grass.
Great. And I hate cutting the grass, too. So, I'll give you $5 to cut my grass. We've just raised GDP by $10.
Isn't that great?
Isn't that great?
Wow, what economists
now, what
are we?
kind of stupid calculation is that?
Wait, I thought that was a good calculation.
Well, if you're a government, it's good enough for government work. Yeah, but that's how they do it.
I know.
It's supposed to be a good thing.
Yeah, that's what we're told.
It's nonsense.
It's all lies.
And add to that the fact that they even count government spending in the GDP numbers.
Right.
I mean, that's just...
Well, that's a farce.
Yeah.
Now, and why is it a farce? Well, we'll explain why. Because the government has only two ways to get money. One is to tax money, which means forcibly taking it from you listeners. Mm-hmm. To give it to something else or some project that they value.
Or somebody else.
Mm-hmm. And the other way is to borrow money.
Yeah.
Which you pay for.
Right.
The interest.
Sure.
And to pay it back. Right?
Right.
So,
now taking the money isn't very popular.
No.
But they've managed to do it for a long time. I
Sure.
mean, we listen to the radio all the time, and the talk show hosts, they're great because they're always like, 30%, 34%, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
No, it's not reasonable. It's not reasonable. The original income tax was what, 1%?
I think 1 or 2,
yeah.
And it was solemnly
yes,
that it would never go up.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would never go up.
That was back during the Civil War.
Yeah. Yeah, it would
and
never go up.
now we're saying, 30, 35%, that's reasonable. It's not reasonable. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But when you have a populace that says, I'll take 30% of my income, that's fine. That's worth it.
What about the services?
Well, true.
All the great services.
Think of that. Yeah.
we rode in here on the roads.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're going to monetize the roads.
Well, we rode in here on the roads.
Well, that's
the services.
They
were nicely plowed, and they had the little salt biddies on there and whatnot.
Sure.
That's the services.
Right.
Well, so are you willing to not drive? Huh? Yeah. Oh, so you better shut up and pay your taxes then.
Right, yeah.
That's right. See, you're all about using the services. I see how you are. You don't want to pay your fair share. Your fair share that you're forced to pay. That fair share. That you have no choice but to pay.
Well, it's a voluntary tax.
Well, yeah, that's what Harry Reid tells us.
Mm-hmm.
But wait, more news on the whole currency war. So, how about Turkey?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Turkey is
they're our NATO ally,
right? Yeah. Woo, NATO. All right.
Yeah.
North American, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So Turkey needs natural gas.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, they don't have their own domestic...
it's not a big country.
No.
So the U.S. government tightened sanctions on Iran, of course, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is, Turkey buys natural gas from Iran.
Well, they can't do that.
Right, because they can't use U.S. dollars.
Right.
Because that's the sanction.
You
can't use U.S. dollars to trade with Iran.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So what'd Turkey do? They use their gold.
Brilliant.
Quote from Turkish Economy Minister Zafer Kaglayan. said yesterday, quote, "We will continue to make our gold exports this year to whoever seeks them. We have no restrictions and are not bound by restrictions imposed by others."
Well, that's preposterous.
Here, Turkey.
Somebody better get Hillary, or no, not Hillary.
Not
I guess
Hillary.
it would be John Kerry now, right?
Yeah. He better
so the way I see it,
down
there's two ways to handle this. Either one, we buy their gold for a higher price and make it attractive to Turkey to want to sell us their gold instead of natural gas.
Because we can just print money to buy the gold.
Right. Or we do the easiest thing.
Bomb the heck out of it.
Yeah, just let the bomb fly.
So meanwhile, the sanctions, according to the New York Times dispatch from Tehran, quote, "while the source of constant complaint and morbid jokes, have not set off price riots or serious opposition to the Iranian government."
Oh, that's a shame.
People really
Them
don't
sanctions aren't really working out.
And in other news, the Castro family is still in power after 52 years of U.S. sanctions on Cuba.
So they're really working good.
They're worthwhile to do, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes, sir.
It worked out really well in Cuba.
Yeah, so that's Turkey and their gold, and they're a NATO. So how do you handle that little
It's a
situation?
little touchy. Does that make for uncomfortable dinner conversation, does it, you think?
I would think it would.
Down at the CFR headquarters?
Yeah, I wonder if there are any Turkish CFR members.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there are.
Probably. Well, in their own role, their wing over there.
Their wing. They got their own wing. You can bet on that.
Yeah. So let's take a little break and wet our whistle here and get into some other things. I do want to talk more about the economy.
Yeah.
John Williams gave a great interview. John Williams.
I love John Williams.
He's Shadow Staff. Yeah. And he's got a number of things to say. So let's take a break.
You're listening to the Stanching Tyranny Hour with Jim and Jeff Stanch on WPG 1450 AM.
You know, the SunPower solar lease is a really popular way for people to go solar these days, and I can see why. You can go solar with no upfront costs and no payment until the system is up and running. Not only that, but that payment will never go up during the 20-year life of the lease, and it's really easy to get started. All you have to do is give us a call at 856-939-6652. A lot of people out there are using the solar lease, and they've eliminated their electric bill. They've replaced it with a fixed lease payment that will never go up, and they're getting additional income every year from the system. Give us a call to find out more, 856-939-6652. The SunPower Solar Lease. There's no easier way to go solar.
Even if you don't have solar on your home, you can be green and earn some green. With the Noggin House Refer a Friend program, you and your friend can earn $200 each every time you refer a friend to SunPower Solar. It's easy to do, too. Just go to refersunpower.com/Noggin House and enter your name and email address. Then, follow the easy steps to refer your friend through email, Facebook, or Twitter. And then when your friend buys or leases a SunPower system, you each get $200. So you don't even have to have solar to enjoy the benefits. The SunPower Refer a Friend program. Go to refersunpower.com/Noggin House, enter your name and email address, and refer your friends to Noggin House. Do it today. You're listening to the Stanching Tyranny Hour with Jim and Jeff Stanch on WPG 1450 AM.
All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being with us this morning. You know, I just want to take a little another side note to talk, continue to talk about solar.
We've made some changes.
We have. One of the things about solar that is kind of an inconvenience for people is the fact that, you know, you generally have to have people out to come out, talk to you about solar, do some measurements and that sort of thing. Look at
It takes time.
It takes some time. It takes a sizable investment in time.
We've been doing it this way for, 4 years? 5 years now?
Yeah.
And, we're at the point where we've gotten good at it, and it still takes about 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes some time.
Yeah.
And so what we've also been working on is, Jeff and I are pretty geeky.
Yeah,
we're
got
pretty
some geek
geeky.
going
We got
on
some
here.
Some strong geekness.
Yeah.
And so we've also been working on how could we, what we're referring to as virtualizing the process.
Using technology.
And we're glad to say that we're at the point now where you can examine going solar. We can do everything that we need to do to give you an accurate representation of what solar can do for you without visiting your house.
Yeah, we do it via webinar.
We do it via webinar.
We get your information via email or phone call. We do our design remotely. We have the technology to do that now. And schedule a webinar to go over the proposal with you, show you what the system can do for you. And if you like how it sounds, we just schedule a short appointment to come out, get some signatures, and confirm some measurements, and you're going solar in no time.
Yeah, and so what we've done is we've reduced greatly the amount of time and inconvenience that you have to take out of your busy lives to examine going solar.
Yeah.
So it's nice because you can kick the tires of going solar, learn more about it, all without having a couple of nerdy, kind of geeky guys in your living room or kitchen table there trying to show you exactly what's what and how for and whatnot.
But don't be too upset because you do still get to experience our geekiness via the internet.
Yeah, we apologize. You can't really fully insulate yourself.
You can't really escape
from
from the geek.
Yeah, you can't. So
you gotta be involved.
But so really, it's a lot easier. We've taken what was a 3-hour in-person process down to a 1-hour webinar at the most that we can do with you.
Right.
Answer all your questions, show you exactly what solar can do for you, and really all it takes is a phone call. Call our office at 888-669-7337 and tell them that you'd like to schedule an appointment with Jim and Jeff. Again, it's going to be a virtual appointment. We're about 3 days out right now.
3 days out, yeah.
So if you want to schedule an appointment, give us a call. What we'll do is do all our layout and design work, and when we have our appointment with you via webinar, you'll learn all the nuts and bolts of what solar can do for you. So give us a call at 888-669-7337. And again, it's easy to go solar, no money down, a payment that's less than your electric bill. It's really a no-brainer.
Yeah, and it's a step towards freedom and independence. And we've talked before about how important it is. We have these currency wars.
Yeah.
And let's call it what it is. These are currency wars.
Yep.
And we've said before, you look back in history, and every time you have a currency war,
it leads to a hot war.
Yeah. And this is going to be no different.
Yep.
We can't, of course, say when that's going to happen, but rest assured it will happen because it's got to be settled. The debts have to be settled.
And the scary thing is we Americans have been sold to this notion that war means over there.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
We're in this false sense of security to believe that war means really no pain for us,
over there,
no real big deal for us.
Sure.
Just send some guys over there, blow some stuff up, use the smart bombs and the drones and whatnot, and we can go on watching our Honey Boo Boo, right?
Yep.
I don't know that it would be that way next time, people.
Yeah.
So we gotta make sure that we're doing as much as we can to be independent, and solar is a great way to do it.
Self-sufficient,
But
making
I want to
your
talk
own energy.
Yeah. And I want to talk about the economy because the Dow is, over 14,000 now by a smidge, right?
Yeah,
and
by
everybody's rah-rahing, and that's great and all that.
Well, happy days are here again, right?
Yeah. And, the thing we have to be careful of is we got to make sure that we realize that the Dow is not an economic indicator. Right. The only reason the Dow's going up is because of the Fed money printing.
Yeah,
if we're going to be completely honest.
At best, it's an activity indicator.
Yeah, it means money's moving.
It means money's moving. It's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah. So there was an interview with John Williams. John Williams is the
Shadow Stats.
Stats.
Yeah,
fella.
he's great.
He is, because what he does essentially is boils down the economic statistics into real numbers that are believable instead of the numbers that you get from the government.
Yeah, I mean, you look at things like the unemployment rate, and there's a lot of machinations that go into making that number what it is.
There is.
Based on assumptions.
Yeah.
And when, let's face it, these assumptions can be manipulated to suit the number that they need, that's what they did.
Well, let me tell you exactly what they did.
Okay.
So unemployment, it's how you define it. See, that's
Right.
what you got to watch with the government. Okay? It's how they define politicians, the government, are masters at propaganda and language and incrementalism. Yeah. So they're very careful with the words that they choose to use because they know.
Was their mouth moving when they said the word unemployment?
Yes.
Well, then that was a lie.
Oh, all right. Yeah. We don't forget Jeff's fail-safe indicator.
Right.
So unemployment, right? So the government has 6 measures of unemployment. And the one we always hear about is the U3.
U3.
The U3 unemployment.
They related to you too?
Now, all the U3 measures is people actively seeking work in the last 4 weeks.
People actively seeking work in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, so if you lose your job, right?
Yeah.
And you're looking for a job over the next 4 weeks, and then in week 5, you're not really looking for a job anymore.
Right.
Right? You're not
You're
measured.
not counted. Sure.
And even if you were, you're really not measured, right?
Yeah.
because you've been looking for a job for longer than 4 weeks.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So you drop off.
Ah, I see. So it's not just if you've been counted for 4 weeks, then even if you're still looking, you drop off.
Yeah. Now, that's 7.9%. Right, that's what we're told.
That's the U3 number, right?
Yeah. Now there's a broader number that the government uses called U6. Now this doesn't get as much headline news, but this is a bigger number, right? It includes more people because it includes people that are defined as unemployed in the U3, plus the people that they refer to as quote discouraged workers.
Now wait. Are the discouraged workers? Are they the ones that were looking for longer than 4 weeks?
That would be my guess. Yeah,
okay.
That's the way I would count it. And they also count people who are working part-time for economic reasons. Well, what other reason would you work? Isn't all work for economic reasons?
I guess if you're Tim Geithner, it's for world control.
That's right.
The paycheck is just kind of nice.
Me. I have to remember that people don't only work for economic reasons. They work for lofty reasons, such as being able to help you and I live our meager lives.
Make the world a better place.
Yeah. So anyway, the people who are, that U6 number was 14.4% in January.
Just shy of double.
Yeah. But, of course, that doesn't tell you the whole story, because remember, where does that number come from?
Oh, it comes from the government.
And if their mouth is moving?
It's a lie.
All right. Yeah. So, if you take those, right, and you don't include the people that have been discouraged for less than a year, as counted by the Bureau of Labor Statistics for U6, you would find that the unemployment rate is up around 23%.
Wow.
23%.
Wow.
Now, we're told that, golly gee, all this government spending and the bomb buying and the stimulus and all this stuff is good for the economy.
Right.
We were told that the housing's about to really come back.
Right. That's what we've been hearing.
Yeah.
I mean, we hear about the housing market is rebounding.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, if you look at the official numbers, the Department of Commerce reported that there was a 12.1% increase.
Wow.
In housing.
That's
biggest
great.
jump in 4 years. Isn't that terrific?
Sounds like we're on the road to recovery.
Right. But of course, there's what they don't tell you.
The nasty details?
Yeah. Because the fact is, the 12% headline gain has a confidence interval, call it a margin of error, of 16%.
Oops. No, wait a minute.
Yeah.
It's up by 12%.
Right.
Plus or minus 16%.
Right.
Well, that means it could be up 28%.
Or it could be down 4%.
Ooh. Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, the fact is that housing starts are still 70% lower than they were in 2006 at the height of the now. Yeah, 12% sounds great. Let's say it is 12%. Yeah, it's a 12% gain of half of what it was, 6 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
So, let's climb it out.
If you only have $1 and I give you 12% more, you only got 12 cents.
Right. Right.
It's not,
Yeah. When 6 years ago you had $2.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, that's what you gotta watch. Also, if you have... Really, let's boil it all down. If you have a economy where 23% of the people are unemployed, right? How much real economic progress can we really make?
Not much.
Not much.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's where the government spending comes in. True. I was looking at a graph showing wages as a percentage of GDP. Okay. And back in the 70s, it was almost 65%.
Wow.
Of GDP.
So 65% of GDP was going into people's pockets.
Right.
Was going into workers' pockets.
Yeah. Yeah.
65%.
Yeah. Now it's under 60%.
Yeah.
So it's dropped like a lead balloon over the years, especially recently since 2000.
Right.
And this is right out of the Congressional Budget Office's new report for 2013, which we'll get to in a minute. I think you have more for
Well,
John
just one
Williams.
other thing is that, we're told about the low interest rates to stimulate spending. Well, really what they want to stimulate is borrowing. The only borrowing that has been effectively stimulated is student loans. That's the only borrowing that's gone up appreciably.
Yeah.
Listeners, please do not go into hawk for a degree that's really worthless.
Yeah, please.
Jim Rogers.
Do it.
Jim Rogers, we talked about him earlier, right? You know what he has to say? He looks at lots of resumes.
Yeah.
He said you can keep your master's degrees.
Right.
They're not worth the paper they're printed on.
Yeah.
Jim Rogers said this.
He said he'll take somebody who knows how to drive a tractor on some farmland before he'll take an MBA.
Yeah. It's just not worth it. The paradigm is shifting because we've been sold on this notion over the years, and we've drilled it into people's head that a college degree is just so very important.
Yeah.
Right? And so we've created all these government programs to pay for this, to put the students into debt, which they can only repay. They have no way out of it.
Yeah.
And then they can't get a $40,000 a year job.
Here it is right here. There's a report out this week from the Center for College Affordability and Productivity. And it indicated that nearly half of all employed college graduates have jobs that require less than a 4-year degree.
Half
of them.
Right.
So you're spending all this money going into debt to take a job where your degree is basically useless.
Right.
But you still have to pay for it.
All in the hopes that the economy will get better, which when we look at those statistics that we got from John Williams, and we consider the fact that, we've always heard 70% of the U.S. economy is tied to consumer spending. All right, well, if 23% of the people can't find work, how's that going to shake out for us?
Yep.
Right? We don't make anything here in the U.S. For years, we've been telling ourselves, let the rest of the world sweat. We don't want to do the hard work. We just want to do the thinking.
Right.
Yeah, we're the smartest people on the earth.
Let the other people
sweat.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, these other countries, it's people in China and other countries are basically laughing at us, saying, look at them arrogant Americans.
Yeah, yeah. And one more thing on that front, law schools. Law school is really expensive.
The only people worse than politicians, I think, are lawyers. You know how many people graduate from law school actually get a job in the legal profession? How many? 20%. 20%. 20%. So the problem with that is the rest of them are gumming up the works and other things because they want to be lawyers. So it's no different than the local municipalities that buy buy tanks and armored cars, right? They want to use them.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So
All right,
that's the problem.
I want to get to this CBO report, but first let's talk to Carl. Good morning, Carl.
Good morning, Carl.
Good morning, Jim and Jeff.
How are you?
Good. So I guess pretty much anything that they say coming out of our administration in Washington, I guess you can't believe them.
No. Well, it depends. Was their lips moving when they said it?
What's that?
It depends. Were their lips moving when they said it?
Yeah, that's how you can tell.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's how you can tell.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And Pinella, what's his name?
Panetta, yeah.
Panetta, right.
Yeah, he's a nice globalist.
No, sure.
Oh, yeah. Especially when he said we didn't have enough time to send anybody to help the diplomat and the three Navy SEALs over there.
No.
Well, we only have time for things like that, Carl, when it means that it will help to further the New World Order agenda and globalism. So if it's going to work to detract that, well, then they just don't have time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. When we had plenty. But see myself, I wonder. Well, General Ham, he retired. Some admiral, he retired too. And they were both over in that area at the time, and they're no longer in the military.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Retired, and we'll see if they start to speak out.
Yeah.
My guess is they won't. But if they do, let's face it, they won't last very long.
Well, yeah, because there's precedent
Well, they're
for
already
that, right?
retired.
Mm-hmm.
They, for some reason, they were quickly retired.
Yeah. Have they disappeared yet, Carl, or are they still,
I don't know. I thought General Ham testified, but all I heard out of it was nobody asked me to help.
Yeah.
Well,
that's not why he retired. Is it? It wasn't because he was asked to help.
No, he was. We'll call it. He was asked to retire.
Yeah, he was encouraged.
Yeah,
right.
encouraged. Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, because how many instances are there of people that have a sudden unexplained accident or a car crash or maybe they fell out of a high window while they were hanging their Fruit Looms out on the railing there.
Yeah.
All those sorts of things that happen. All unexplained, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and their association says you can't. He wasn't allowed to hang them out there anyhow.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You can't put.
Yeah, at least not Fruit of the Loom. Yeah, maybe Haynes. You might let that slide.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. But not if they look like an American flag.
Oh yeah, you can't do that. Can't do that. All right, Carl. Jeff's gonna get into more of that CBO report, and but first we're gonna take another call.
Tony.
Morning, Tony.
How you doing, guys?
Good. How are you, Tony?
Well, I can tell that Obama has his illegal alien aunt living at the White House because there's a wash line up in the Rose Garden there with his long underwear hanging.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he got the bloomers out there, does he?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I'm sure President Obama keeps the White House thermostat at 65,
right.
To help the environment.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, how would he know? He's never there anyway.
Oh, good point.
He's never at the White House anyway,
right.
is he?
No.
Well, just when he is not golfing.
Right.
Yeah.
But hey, I want to add to what Carl said about those knee-slapping, side-splitting hearings there with Leon Panetta. It took him. I understand it took him 7.5 hours to decide it would take 8 hours to send him help.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it took him 7.5 hours to decide.
Well,
we can't now. It's too late. It would take 8 hours.
He's probably got some PTSD though.
Yeah.
We got to cut the guy some slack.
Is Leon Panetta a CFR member? I've never checked.
Yeah,
I've never checked. But maybe he called down the CFR to see what he should do. And
it went to voicemail.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I think that's how Hillary got that concussion. He called Hillary on what to do, and she tripped over the coffee table there and hit her head as she went to answer the phone call. Maybe that's how she got that concussion.
That's probably the case. That's probably the case.
But listen, I got a perfect job job for Tim Geithner.
Yeah? Well, he already got a job, but maybe he needs a part-time
job. Make him head of the IRS.
Yeah.
Oh,
he could be in charge of and he'll never have to pay taxes again as long as he maybe even get a refund from that money he owed.
Yeah, maybe.
What do you think?
Oh, yeah, goodness knows those cabinet-level positions, they get all kinds of perks even after they're done.
Oh, for life.
Yeah, for life they get all kinds of perks. So, I'm sure that Timmy's A-okay with the whole tax thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe even got an extension on his, when he can file his taxes.
Yeah,
did they give you a 4.5-year extension?
I think it's a lifetime extension when you're a cabinet level.
Yeah, you just write it off.
Yeah, just write it off.
Maybe he's filing a joint return with that doctor there Menendez is hooked up with. Maybe they're filing a joint return.
Yeah, maybe. Boy, Tony, I never realized, by the way, that 2 flights to the Dominican Republic would be so darn expensive.
Yeah.
58. Well, you got to consider everything. You got all those underage girls on the plane with you. You got to pay for them.
Yeah, but Tony, from what I understand, they charged him $500, but he only gave him $100.
Yeah.
Yeah, so so $58,000 is a bargain.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That might have been a tip for the girls.
Yeah, maybe it
might have been
was.
a tip, for services rendered or something.
Yeah, sure.
But, I think he really is. So I think they should check out that eye doctor's credentials because he couldn't tell whether the girl was of age or not.
Right. Well, maybe that's
better get his eyes checked.
Yeah, maybe
he's a good eye doctor.
Well, we really can't begrudge Senator Menendez for needing to get some rest and relaxation.
Sure.
After all, he works so hard for us.
Tirelessly doing the people's work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. Well, I think he pulled a shoulder muscle cutting through all that red tape for the people in New Jersey there that needed relief from the hurricane.
I think he did.
Oh, I'm just glad that he got everybody moving on the immigration reform.
Right. And the gun control, he wants to take care of that.
Sure. Yeah.
And one last thing here, I got I'm on that with that thing there with the fruit flies.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
how's that going?
They're sending me up there to study them up there with another guy and a couple other people to study them in space, how they have sex in space, how it affects them. Yeah. But the company I work for, they're pretty cheap. They put me in tourist instead of first class on that Russian spaceship there. They got me in the back with all the luggage.
And the monkey,
you're in the engine room.
I have to go up there.
Yeah, Tony. I don't know how you do it, Tony.
That's a perfect case of somebody that is willing to sacrifice for the good of the people.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
For the good of the country. I'll do anything for my country.
We know it.
Absolutely.
All right, Tony.
All right. Hey, listen, if I call from the space shuttle next week or the week after, can I call collect or will you guys
call collect. Money is no object here at WTC.
Money's no object.
We got a bottomless budget.
All right. Talk to you guys next week.
All right.
Let me get to the CBO report. The CBO Congressional Budget Office, they came out with their budget and economic outlook for 2013. And just to summarize, everything's going to be just great.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, so we can look at their track record to judge how well we can trust this report
from the CBO.
Yeah, so they did the same thing back in 2003.
Okay.
And in 2003, they estimated that by this year, the budget surplus would be $5.6 trillion. The budget surplus.
The surplus.
Yeah.
Yeah. $5.6 trillion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
They missed that.
It
actually turned out to be a deficit.
So it was $5.6 trillion, give or take about 22 trillion?
They said in the report it's $5.6 trillion plus or minus 100%. It turned out to be minus 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's 6.6 trillion deficit. So actually, I guess that's minus 200%, right? Because 100% would be zero and then negative.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
So they missed that. But I guess it was within the margin
I'm sure they got other numbers correct.
Oh, well, sure. They had the estimate for the debt held by the public. They had that figured in at $1.2 trillion.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So, would you like to know what it actually is?
Oh, I don't know. 1.4?
11.6.
Ah.
They only missed that one by about 1,000%.
What's 1,000%?
That's within the margin of error. You know?
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. And then there's the GDP. They figured by this year we'd be GDP of $17.4 trillion.
Right.
Yeah. So they missed that one because we're less than $16 trillion on the GDP.
Okay.
So it doesn't sound like a lot, but $1 trillion. Let's remember.
What's $1 trillion between friends?
Sure.
It's only a million.
Yeah, but don't worry about that because their new report says GDP is about to soar.
Well,
it's like ready to go, you know?
And I'm sure they've probably evolved their processes since 2003, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. GDP is going to soar. We're like right on the edge, and it's going to really take off in about 10 months.
Oh, okay. 10 months from now.
And, debt isn't really anything to worry about. Don't worry about that
I won't worry about it.
The debt to GDP is going to flatten out, and we'll be okay.
Yeah.
It's not going to keep going up like it has been. So,
for the last,
unemployment,
I don't know, 100 years.
Unemployment? Not a problem.
No.
Not a problem.
No. You people out there, you're 23% that are unemployed, don't worry about it one bit.
Well, according to the report, by 2016, it's going to be back down to 5.5%.
All right.
And that's going to stay there for 7 years.
All right.
Yeah, 5.5%.
All figured out.
There is another good thing, there is zero chance of a recession.
Zero chance.
Zero.
Absolutely no
chance. In the next decade. Now,
in the next decade,
yeah.
Oh, all right.
Well, interestingly enough, they said the same thing in 2003.
Oops.
So, did we have a recession during that 10-year period?
I think I remember one.
I think we did,
Yeah, John Williams, to continue, says that the common phrase will be the double dip. He said it's going to be more like a ski slope.
Yeah.
Recession.
I believe it.
So
we're not out of the woods, people.
We're not. And remember, politicians' mouth moving. What are they doing?
Lying.
That's right. So we hope you can join us next week.
See you then.